pretty much trying to figure out new ways to pass time.
Uh-huh. So what do you do to pass time generally?
Yeah, so like, this is a new thing that I've been, trying from past a few days, like, bringing in people so that they can talk to a lot of guys in the same profession and, similarly, like we are doing this session today. So
Right.
in the similar way, like we are conducting sessions and trying
Uh-huh.
to interact with more people every day. So
Hmm.
that is all.
That's pretty cool.
But yeah, I believe like, I believe like we have not actually, talked before, more like, just about few of the WhatsApp calls. So like I think it's been 9 months till now since you have joined Zomato, right?
Yeah, around 9 months, yeah.
Yeah. So like how it's going? Like take us through your journey since the day one and
Yeah, so I mean, I was still a student, and then I got an internship offer from Zomato, and then yeah,
okay,
basically after interning, I think they liked my work, so they hired me full time. So I've been working full time ever since, and yeah, it's been a great journey so far. I mean, a lot of challenges on the way. Like I joined in office, right, and then suddenly this pandemic happened, and then changing to
right,
work from home, and then designing for a whole new era is something which is a new challenge for all designers out there, right? So you have to design
right,
more carefully with trust, try to invoke trust in the users, because especially in a place like any hospitality region, like food or hotels, you need to ensure the users trust you and they use your product, right? So it's been
right,
a really nice
absolutely.
journey of learning. I feel like I've this was also a boon for me in a way, because I got to learn a lot in a short amount
Hmm.
of time. So yeah, I mean, it's been great. A lot of cool stuff. I have worked on a lot of cool stuff which you guys might see on the app, like contactless
Yeah,
delivery,
right,
the rider icon, the superhero icon. So he blew up. So we wanted to empower our riders, because they're the ones who are, doing the job for us. They're going out risking their lives. So so
right,
we usually on the Zomato app you'd see a rider, right, on the map. So we wanted to ensure that people tip them, and also know that acknowledge what they're doing. So I made a superhero icon for that, and that blew up on Twitter. We had Andre Borges from BuzzFeed, Dolly Singh, all of them had retweeted it. So it felt like really cool, really amazing.
and that is a crazy feeling,
Yeah, yeah. Especially a lot of
something
people.
blowing up on, yeah,
Yeah, it's also
something
very
blowing up
scary,
on internet
because
is actually
even when you're making something for something new on the app, and there's some backlash on social media, that also is very scary. But luckily, it hasn't happened till now. But yeah, good stuff. I mean, exciting stuff. I mean, that's what I think about a designer really wants. At the end of the day,
right,
it doesn't matter if you like the work or not. It's about how your users enjoy your product. So I think that's the difference between
absolutely,
art and design. So in art, you can create anything which has a deep meaning for yourself, right? That's why paintings sell a lot,
right,
because it meant a lot to that painter or that artist. But for a designer, it's different. He has to design for or create something for other people.
absolutely right. One great thing about the entire Zomato app is that, I actually have this question, this is my personal question only.
So
And there is something that is, driving the entire company core values. Like if you see the app, if you see the website, there's something that actually is very pleasing for the customer. So what are these, design values, companies like Zomato is following that actually hold on the customers and make you so, feel so great when you are using the app.
right. So what we do is we try to cohese that experience on your app as well as on your website, right? Like you said, when you go on the
Yeah,
website or the app, it feels like you want to order food, right? So how we have done this is we have built our own design system, right? So a design system is basically a set of components which we use throughout the ecosystem, right? So they'll be designed for mobile, website, and they're in a way so consistent that this experience is seamless wherever you go on app or on the web, right? And this design system is very
yeah,
thoughtfully made, right? Like from the colors, what colors do we want to show to our users, the typography. I mean, it's a lot of work. So we use the system so that we maintain consistency across all the products we ship. And yeah, I mean, we've built a design system which is very robust, helps us design very fast. That's why you can see Zomato is one of the fastest shipping companies. Look, so like from ideas
Right.
to concept, and then we ship it out immediately, right? It's because of our
Yeah.
design system. So that really helps for us. So our
Nice.
design system is called Sushi. If people are interested, you could also read about it. We have a article on how we made it, and it answers all your questions on why we chose certain colors and why did we make a design system and more.
Yeah, actually, like a couple of weeks ago, I introduced to this sushi design system where I was, going through Vijay Verma. I think he's leading
Yes,
the design team as well at
yes,
Zomato,
yes,
right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yes,
I actually his connection on LinkedIn only, and
right.
I was watching the entire, thought process that is being done because sushi was something that was a huge take for Zomato as well, right?
Right,
You guys are revamping the entire application. That
right.
actually includes, wrapping up the font colors as well, like slightly touching them also and changing the font design, font styles. Everything is like I think touched in that sushi design system.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
Vijay,
that is
Vijay
like
is a
great.
superstar. He's our he's the one who's created the design system. So I joined later after it was made. But yeah, it is very easy
Hmm.
for me also to adjust, right? So I didn't have to ask anyone, okay, what fonts do you use? Ye color kya use karte ho? So it's very simple. Like I just went to the design system and it's very easy for me to settle in. So really
Yeah, nice,
kick-ass team.
nice to hear. So Rahul, I think we have few people already joined in,
Yeah.
and
Hey guys.
a lot of will come.
Yeah.
I'll just ping everyone on the group we have that we are about to start, so that
Sure.
no one misses in.
Sure. Hey guys, what's up? You can guys can flood the chat on what you guys have been doing or just say hi.
Also, a bit request like if you can turn on your cameras and say hi to Rahul and me too as well.
Come on guys, what's up? Hey Nirbhay, what's up? What are you doing? How have you been doing? I see Manu has also switched on his video. What's
Hey
up,
Manu,
Manu?
what
You're
here
on mute.
Manu?
You're on mute.
Hey, hey,
Hey Manu,
hey
what's up?
Rahul. I'm good. I was saying long time no see, Sanchit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, how are you
How
doing,
have you
brother?
been? Doing good, man. Doing good.
Yeah,
How about you?
doing great.
Yeah.
Also, I think Rahul, it's two
Yeah.
already. I think we can start and people may join in between.
Sure. Cool. Cool. Cool.
So take us through what you have got for us today and
Yeah.
enlighten us.
So just give me a heads up if you can see my screen. 1 second. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Cool. So Sanjay, should I start?
Yes, Rahul, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, guys. Firstly, hello everyone. I hope you guys are doing safe and sound in this very difficult time. It's been very hard for all of us at home for at least, I would say, 8 to 9 months. And here, I just hope you guys are safe and sound. Social distance, stay at home if you can. Party hum karenge, hopefully on the New Year. So yeah, so a little bit about me. My name is Rahul, and I'm a product designer at Zomato. I design for the consumer app and also other verticals at Zomato. So you can see a lot of work on my app. And I don't think I need to explain what Zomato is. I guess all of you guys use Zomato to order food sometime or the other. So yeah, you can also find me on all my social handles at Rahul Goradia. I keep it simple on all social media platforms, Instagram, Medium, and Triple. This is where I'm most active. So yeah, so like I just said, I hope everyone's safe and sound. I hope everyone's a hero in their own right, like Spider-Man, is trying to stay at home and not try to spread what already exists in this world, which is the pandemic. So I hope you guys are doing safe, and we're gonna have a kick-ass session. All right. So I heard that a lot of you have want to transition into design or into digital product design, and I wanted to start off by taking you guys through what is design, what is digital product design, what is UX, what is UI, how do you get into design, what are the opportunities are there for me, and then we'll come to how you can create ideas and start creating projects. Right. So this is a very good session for someone who's starting and also someone who's already there, and how they can build their ideas or even transition into different fields, right? So you might hear this term UX a lot, right? What is UX, and then how do I get into UX, and what does a designer even do from day to day, right? You might hear this annoying term everywhere, what is UX, right? And there are so many definitions on the internet. So to put it in a very boring definition, UX design is a process of creating simple, useful, and usable things, right? It's mostly common sense. In layman terms, the word says it all. UX is creating an experience for your users, right? So UX design has nothing but common sense, trying to solve user problems through studying user behavior, solving it through business goals and more, right? So if you're someone who is really intrigued by these questions, what you see when you notice things around you from your day to day, which is what, why, when, and how, I think you might be a someone who can transition into design, right? Because a designer is someone who looks at problems, identify problems, and solves it for the users, right? So UX is actually a very big aspect of what companies follow from day to day, right? People might not even know that it's UX, but it's problem solving. But then UX is a huge bracket which companies and people use to solve and create products for users, right? So it's all about making a better thing and not just making the thing better, right? So I'll take you guys through some real life examples on what a good experience might be, right? So say you want to cut the lane, you don't have to walk on the grass, there's a separate path which is built for you to save your time, right? Maps. So maps were a very big discovery, right? So people wanted to know where they were, where they wanted to go, and then they started using this use case in different events, right? Like zoos, events, theme parks, right? So people can see what they want to see and skip parts they don't want to see, and then reach their final destination, right? And now we have Google Maps is because of traditional maps, right? So maps is also one way of creating a very nice experience for the users to ensure that they reach where they want to reach in a very limited amount of time. We have ATMs, which are self-explanatory. People who want to withdraw some amount, it's not very hard, it's very intuitive. So UX is also not only used in is UX is used in day-to-day life as well, right? And we have some very cool UX designers working at Google, LinkedIn. So, for example, at LinkedIn, when you just log in, it shows you your profile strength, right? And it motivates you to complete your profile more, right? Whether it's by adding your resume, profile details, etc. LinkedIn actually motivates you by showing you profile strength, and then once you start updating, it starts giving you a reward, pleasure, and showing that okay, you filled so much, we're gonna boost your profile a bit more, right? So people always try to create experiences which are beneficial for the users, right? So I love this Apple website where they've clearly shown all their products through these very beautiful icons which make it extremely distinguishable, right? So you know what you're clicking on, right? Like iPad, Apple Pencil, AirPods, they're very clearly defined, right? So if you're someone who has all these questions and has noticed all these things and you want to know how to start, right? So the best way to start into anything, not even just design, is just to start reading and doing a research on what design is, right? So on a personal story, I didn't know what design is until I was applying for engineering colleges, right? So I was going to be another engineering boy. I was going to do my engineering even though I was really bad at math, physics. I didn't know what I was going to do in life. But then I saw an ad for an exam which is called CEED, which is the design paper for IIT. Then my dad's like, okay, you can try this. And then I just started researching about design. And then I knew that I've been doing this all my life. I've been drawing, I've been sketching, I've been trying to solve problems. So that's something which really interested me. So just a heads up, if you guys are interested in anything, Google is amazing. There's so many types of resources out there where you can learn, and just there's plentiful resources where you can become a novice or even an advanced a designer. right? So start doing some research and get a good understanding on what design entails, right? So design is a very, very huge bracket, right? You have design for all sorts of things like fashion design, product design, UI designer, a graphic designer who creates posters, a video editor. So all these guys come in the bracket of design, right? So I'm going to take you through what is there in the digital product design space. So there are a couple of jobs which you can also pick up in this space, right? So if you're someone who's very interested in working on the interface and the visual part of the design, which is mostly the front end part, you'd probably become a visual or a UI designer, right? If you're someone who likes the concept of solving problems and through creating solving these problems through solutions on interfaces, you'll probably be a UX designer, right? Knowing how the concept, how the product works, how do you analyze it, testing with users, doing your research, etc. So what a product designer is, a product designer does everything from start to end. He does his research, he does UX, he does UI, he also knows maybe a little bit of animation, but he also is in charge of the whole product, right? So a product designer would understand the whole ecosystem of the product, and then he would design accordingly to the business goals, according to what is feasible at the moment. So these are a little bit of job titles which you can do, which you can do in the digital product design space. But if you, there are plenty more options, so you can do your own research and understand what type of design you want to do. All right. So to understand that, you might want to get familiar with the basic principles, right? So design at its core has a few basic principles, right? Like color, typography, texture, direction. So it's made up of these design elements, right? So I've added a few of these in a cheat sheet. So you might want to dive into each and every topic and give it a sufficient amount of time, right? So because color itself is a huge topic, I can probably give a talk for 3-4 hours on color itself, right? So if you guys are really interested, start at the very core. Don't try to jump ahead and do something which you can't do. It might seem very hard. Start at the very basic core of design and understand what design entails, and then move forward, right? So this is a very good book I recommend to everyone, which is The Design of Everyday Things. I feel like it's a must read for every designer out there. It talks about the design, what you see on everyday things, how to solve problems, and it's written by Don Norman, who coined the term user experience. So I feel like it's a very nice book. You guys should read. You guys can take it down or take a screenshot. It's a very good book you guys should read, right? And then once you're really invested in design and you know that you want, this is something you want to do, you need to start looking at things differently, right? You need to start critiquing and judging everything you look, right? So you might want to go and feed yourself to good design to your eyes, right? So there are many platforms where you can look at other people's projects, famous people's portfolios, and look and understand what is trending right now, why is it so good, and always question yourself why, so that you'll get to learn more, right? So watch and copy others. When I say copy, I don't literally mean copy their design. That's plagiarism. Please don't do that. But always copy and see what are they doing and what can you do better, and try to remix and rematch and create something, right? So this is another book I recommend, which is Steal Like an Artist. So it talks about how all ideas are not original, and all ideas are inspiration from other ideas, right? It's up to you on how you take those ideas and make it creative and make it your way, right? So it's another amazing book you guys should read. These are some of my book recommendations which you guys can go ahead and read, and I'm sure it'll be beneficial to you all, right? So yeah, so design also has multiple processes, right? There are different processes which again you guys must Google and read. There's no such right process over here, but what you need to explore different processes, because you need to know what works for you, right? A designer who is doing process A might not be okay for a designer who has a process B, right? So it's up to you which design process you want to entail. So you can do more research and look at the different types of processes which are there, and then you can choose one which is suiting your style, right? And then coming to the least important part is the tools. So obviously when you're applying for a job or when you want to create designs, you need to understand and learn these sort of tools. So these are some tools which are used to create UX products. So it's XD, Sketch, Figma, Framer, So these are the main three softwares you guys could learn. I think that once you get a hang of one, you will be familiar with the other rest of the product. So this is why I say that this is not important, is because it's your core concepts and values which are more important. Um, to be honest, anybody can learn the tool. It's not very hard. Within 2-3 days, any inexperienced person also can learn this tool, right? So this is something which you should do in the last, but ensure that you know in and outs of the tool so that it can help you create your idea into something which you really imagined into reality, right? So these are some of the tools you guys can learn on YouTube tutorials, etc., right? And some people ask me, um, that what are the skills I need to become a designer, right? What do I need? Like, how do I know I can become a better designer or UX designer, right? So I'll take you guys through some points on what you guys need to know on how to become a UX designer, right? One second. Yeah. So communication is key, right? So as a UX designer, you might create wonderful products and amazing products, right? You might be very good with the tool, you might create something very aesthetic, but unless you convince your managers or the developers or someone who you're working for that this is good design and this is why we should go ahead with it, nobody's going to listen to you, right? The real challenge is creating these, which is learning how to negotiate, learning how to collaborate with developers and different managers, right? So the technical side of, there's no technical side of UX design, right? It's a process. You solve problems on the go. You create something which is visually aesthetic, but it's then up to you on how you negotiate with your manager or with your developers, right? So sometimes your developer might say this is not possible, but you might have seen it somewhere where other developers have done it. So you can just ask and collaborate with them and learn how to talk to developers, also empathize with them. And so communication is a very important factor as a designer. I feel like even if you're an introvert, it doesn't mean that you have to go and start talking to everyone, right? It's the real reason I say it's important is so that you can empathize with users. So unless you talk, you won't really know what the real problem is, right? So which I said, the second point, you need to get better at user research, right? If you don't know how to talk to users, how will you get inferences and create better products for them, right? So the entire foundation of UX design is designing for people, right? So you need to go out, talk to users on the phone or in person. I mean, obviously you can't go out right now, but you can always set up interviews, get feedback. So UX is always about creating testing and knowing if it works or not, right? So unless you show the users and get it tested, you don't know if your design, what you have made, is feasible for the user or not, right? So the entire foundation of UX is to design for people. So you need to get uncomfortable and just speak to users so that you can get better at user research, right? And another thing designers do is making sense of mess, right? They You might give a UX designer a very complex problem. It's his job to simplify the solution and make it very streamlined, right? So UX is very messy, right? We are very messy design. We have a lot of huge files, a lot of screens everywhere, but it's for us to take this whole mess and make it into a very clean and feasible solution for the user, right? So UX designers are big experts in making sense of mess. And then wireframing is user flows. So something where you are comfortable with imagining, right? Putting yourself in the user's shoe, right? Putting yourself in, okay, say, so what a user flow is, basically we track down what the user might do from step one to step last of your product, right? It's a simple way to like imagine your idea, I would say. So you might start with, okay, user opens the app, then what all options does he have? Does he log in through mobile number or does he log in through Gmail, right? So if he logs in through mobile number, you might have to send an OTP. If he logs in through Gmail, you might get direct access, right? So we imagine the whole flow on how the user starts and ends his journey, and then we figure out ideas on where the problems are and how we can make it better. So a UX designer is someone who is very good at empathizing with the user and imagining what the user might do in certain situations, right? And copywriting and visual design, right? So I feel like a lot of people don't give this enough credit. but a UX designer is someone who also knows what to say in the product, right? Usually people say, okay, no, that's the marketing team or the copywriting team which will handle it. But I feel like as a designer, you need to understand what the user might feel with using certain words, right? And that will happen only with reading more books and increasing your vocabulary, right? So I feel like visual design and copywriting are given a bad rep, but I feel like it's something which is very important for even designers to use, right? So even when you're creating novel wireframes, you need good visual hierarchy and good typography to go with it, right? So I suggest that all of, even if you're someone who doesn't want to get into especially UI design, it's okay to know about what visual design is and how to be decent at it. I mean, you don't have to be perfect, but I feel like it's okay to have knowledge of a lot of things than not knowing it, right? So these are the few factors which I feel that you guys, like a UI designer, should know, or some qualities a UI designer should know, right? So I'll come to ideas now. Yeah. So a lot of designers might ask, or a lot of newbies might ask, how do you get ideas and how do you make those ideas into reality? Right? And we'll be talking about what designers have done in the past, what I do, how you can create your ideas, and what are the steps you should follow to create a project or something where you can take an idea and create something with an inspiration and then put it in your portfolio, right? So ideas are things basically which pop up in our head when we think we get a good inspiration from to solve a problem. So these can come anywhere, right? These can come when you're in the toilet, when you're taking a shower, when you're eating food, literally anything, right? So what a lot of designers do is they get inspired from nature, right? So a lot of people like traveling because people say that you learn a lot actually while traveling than at staying at home, right? Even though you're reading a lot of stuff. It's because when you get uncomfortable, when you go outside, you face challenges which are unpredictable, right? You might not understand the language when you're going to there. So how will you navigate? How do you talk to people over there? So as a designer, you also learn things while going out and stepping out, right? So a lot of designers like to get inspired from nature. So this process is called biomimicry. So biomimicry is nothing but taking inspiration from nature and trying to incorporate it in real life, right? So a lot of designers use this, from product designers to digital designers, right? So you might know that when the plane was created, they had taken the inspiration from a bird, right? Because birds can fly and humans want to get in the air. So they wondered, how do birds fly? They have wings. The shape of their body, it's so aerodynamic. So that's why when you see planes, even they have wings. They're also aerodynamic. So this is how we get inspiration from nature to create something which is very nature like, but it also helps us solve problems, right? Another good example is digital interfaces, right? Even the bird from Twitter, the apple for the Apple logo, right? So these have also been taken from natural inspirations, right? And there's a thing called golden ratio, which signifies beauty, right? Which is a ratio of 1.16. So this exists in nature, right? Which is something which makes beautiful, and people have tried to incorporate this in their logos and etc., right? So inspiration is taken from anywhere, from nature. And I suggest you guys, I mean, not now, but if you get the chance, go out. It also have a good time. You might not know where you might get inspiration from, right? Yeah. So if you can, once this pandemic is over, I suggest everyone plan a trip so that you can learn something new, right? Don't always disrupt yourself, right? Don't think that you're always going to make the next big idea, the next big thing on your own, right? You need inspiration from other places, right? It's very rare that nowadays people create something on their own, right? Especially because everything's invented, everything's been made. You don't have to have the expectation always disrupting the industry or creating something new, right? There are a couple of sites where you can take amazing inspiration from and then remake it in your style and then give it to the world, right? So this is a website called dribble.com. It's amazing for getting UX inspiration. So what I do in the morning every day, before logging into work, I spend at least 15 to 20 minutes on Dribble and Behance to see what designers are doing, what are some trendy designs. So when I'm working, maybe I get an idea and I can refer to it and say, I saw this, and then I can create something on the same line, right? So always don't be afraid to take inspiration, don't copy, but get inspired by other people's work and see what they're doing, right? And this is the most important phase, that you need to keep iterating, right? You need, what iteration means is basically creating a version of that, right? For example, a designer might stand with a very big logo, which might not look good, and he'll keep creating different versions of it, right? So you might notice that big wing, he saw the wing logo and he wanted to incorporate it in the typeface, and then he made it shorter and shorter, and finally he came up with a very cool gradient with a B, right? So it's always about creating multiple versions, getting feedback from people. How is this, how can I make it better, getting inspiration, and then keep on creating different versions, right? As a designer, you might like something you made on the first day, but the next day, trust me, when you log in and check out your work, you'll be like, what the fuck have I made, right? So it's always good to iterate and keep creating different iterations until you feel like you're satisfied, you've gotten to a good standalone point where you might take more time to improve, or you feel like this is the best you could do. So it's always good to iterate and explore different options, right? Something which really helps me, what I do, I always stick to my pen and paper, right? It's because the brain flows and you're accustomed to writing whatever you think, right? Just drawing, sketching it out. So what I do is, I just, before even I start uh, creating something, I always like creating wireframes before I get into the whole visual design, right? Because that, when I start creating on the screen, I start noticing a lot of visual design what do you say problems, and I say, okay, this is not looking right. But when that's not the main question, right? The main question is solving the problem for the user. So it's always good to take a pen and paper, write down whatever you have to solve, try solving it through that, and your mind also works beautifully. And yeah, this is something I recommend. So another thing I recommend watching is the Netflix show called Abstract. So basically, they interview a lot of cool designers, and Nike shoe designer Tim Hankerfield also does this, right? Whenever he starts a new project, he's always sticks out his pen and paper and starts sketching different concepts, right? Like what he's discussed as iterations. So it's always good. This helps you get a lot of ideas, and then you can jot down to 2 3 ideas and then decide what you want to go to. So these are some beautiful iterations by Tim Hankerfield. I suggest you guys go and watch the whole Netflix special. It's really cool. He talks a lot about design and how you can improve and create on your ideas. So this is something you guys can check out, right? So when you have all this, you can create your own sample project, right? So once you have an idea, you've got an inspiration, and now you feel like you want to create something, you have your wireframes, and now you can just have to do the visual design, and you have a sample project ready, right? After doing that, I feel like it's very very important to get feedback. So that's the only way you improve, right? Unless you don't know where you're going wrong, there's no way you can improve, right? So you can always hit up a lot of designers, ask your friends to give you feedback. I feel like a lot of people in the industry are doing free portfolio reviews since of the COVID situation. So make handy of that, try to annoy designers to get to review your work, and then you will see you bloom, right? So you can create a portfolio. And yeah, so I'll just take you through my portfolio and what you can do to enhance your own portfolio, right? So when you have a portfolio, I'd suggest have a website or a Behance page, only because that people can view your projects what they want to, right? So if you send a PDF, people have to scroll through the whole portfolio, right? So what you can do is have a website or a Behance page. Just focus on your best projects. Please don't dump all your projects which might be 10 years old. You might not even want to show them. Ensure that you have your latest projects on your Behance, and try to add your own personal style to it, right? And as a designer, it's your chance to show off, right? As a designer, you should be good at flaunting your skills, right? So I'll just take you guys to my website. So when people land on it, I want people to know that who I am, what I show a couple of my work, where do I currently work, places I've worked, and a couple of my best projects, right? And a couple of my best case studies which I have. So I'll just take you guys to one of the case studies. So here I've what I've tried to do is I've tried to show my whole process, right? On how I get the project, the problem, my interviews, my research, my iterations, and then my final concept, right? So I feel like all your projects or portfolio should have one project where you show your whole process and your show off your skills, where people understand, okay, what they're getting into and why they should hire you as a starting designer, right? So here's a prototype created, like a AR prototype as well. And also include testimonials if people have spoken about your work and shared your work. So one of my favorite designers, Johnny Vino, he works at Apple now. He's amazing guy. So he also shared my work. So this is a really cool moment for me. And you can always ask people to review your work or give you feedback, and then you can post it here. So it's really cool that people nowadays try to sell themselves, right? It's all about creating your own brand and selling yourself, right? So this is something you guys can do, which has helped me a lot. You can, the best part is to present your work through a story. Try to narrate it in a way where people enjoy and look at your work. Even though not a designer, they can enjoy looking at your work through like a story, right? Everybody loves stories. So yeah, have something for people to be mesmerized with, essentially. And one of the biggest mistakes I did was being afraid to post my work, right? So that's why I mentioned it's very important to get feedback. uh, when you don't post your work, you won't really get feedback and you won't get any better, right? I used to think the same way. I used to think people will think my work is bad, or people might comment something bad. I was very conscious about the image I might portray about myself. But then one fine day I was like, no, this is not the route I want to go, and I just started posting stuff and I started getting better, right? So post your work and don't be afraid. And there are a couple of things you can do to get jobs or reach out to other people. You can reach out to design managers or recruiters rather than HRs, because HRs will usually be flooded with emails of recruitment. So you always reach out to design managers. Even if they don't hire you, they'll at least give you some really good feedback on your portfolio. So it's something you could do. um, Join online communities, head to networking events. This is to grow your network and become a better designer, right? So if you want to make a presence in the design industry, in the design field, talk to people, just ask them how do they work, what are the things they're working on, get the feedback from them, and you can explore a whole lot more, right? Last but least, you should believe in yourself, because all of you guys are awesome. I feel like people don't give credit to what work they do. Believe in yourself. I feel like everybody has the same starting point, just on how hard you work and how willing you are to learn and create and hone your skills. So just believe in yourself. You guys are all awesome, and thank you. We can take questions now. Sanjit, you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. So I was saying, like, awesome, great presentation. And it covers, a lot of questions I have already prepared for myself. But one small question I would like to take before like anyone asks more, like one small thing is that how one can actually network in these times. Like I agree for design events, meetups was a great thing, but now what do you recommend people to actually start networking with? Because like we are packed in our homes and like maybe LinkedIn or Behance or what, like tell us through that.
So join awesome events like these. I feel like a lot of people are hosting a lot of webinars, and there are a lot of people going live on YouTube and stuff. So I feel like it's increased your chances of going, right. So before, they would only be at some certain events where you have to travel and go there. Right now everything's online, right? You can learn online on what people are doing. So just look out, just go to LinkedIn and look for events, what people are doing, and follow people who host events regularly and they post new content, so that they can learn something new, right? I hope that answers
Thank you,
it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. We have one more question in the chat. How do I find like-minded people? I think Rahul has already answered that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So guys, if you have any more questions, like
Guys,
you
shoot
may
the
turn on
question
your camera.
below. Yeah, you can even speak to me. It's awesome. I'd love to meet you guys. Any questions at all? I think we have a question from Lalit Barai. As you know, designers and developers work together. My question is, who decides the features of the app when making it? Is it the developer or the designer? All right. So to answer your question, let me put it like this. So a designer might get a certain requirement, right? So say something of the app is not working, or we want to sell something. So then the designer comes up with a solution or a wireframe, and he takes it to the developer, right? So the designer might create something totally whack and something totally new where the developer might not know what it is. So then it's up to the designer to talk to the developer key, is this possible right now? Is this okay? Is this feasible? Can we do this? And then they come on a consensus, and then they ship something, right? So it's always a designer's job to create something, create a new feature, but take the consent of the developer to ask them if they can do it within the timeline, and then ship it together, right? So I feel like it's a team effort on what people do. So yeah, any other questions, guys?
Yeah, again.
Hey Manu, what's up?
Yeah. So I had a question.
Yeah.
Parts you did answer on those lines during the presentation.
Mhm.
But like I recently like started working with development. That's very new to it. But
Manu,
so
your voice is cracking. Uh,
hello,
yeah, yeah,
better?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So my question was that like recently got into this development, and I agree to you that using the tools is not the biggest challenge there.
Yeah.
So I worked with XG, and it was easy. I know what's where, right?
Mhm.
But my question is like, how do we also have like UX guidelines like refer while designing? But question comes, how do we start with that process of thinking or the designing part?
I lost you there, Manu. How do we start?
How do we start the thinking process for the designing?
Right.
Not
So
yeah,
what I would,
yeah, 1 second. For you to answer that better and to answer it correctly, for example, Zomato right now starts selling some new product. For example, say Zomato gets into selling shoes like Nike, and Zomato asks to design a website for that, dedicated website for that. Where do you start thinking?
I couldn't hear full question. I could only hear Zomato, Nike. Uh,
Rahul, Rajiv from Kolkata. May I have a few doubts and few questions, even possible right now?
yeah. Just
Yeah.
1 second. Let's take over Manu's question. Manu, maybe you can type it in the chat. We'll answer Rajiv's question, and then Manu, we can answer your question.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rahul.
yeah,
Yeah, I have an almost 14 years experience as a UX designer. I
yeah,
am based on my situation in Kolkata.
yeah.
But to be very frank, in Kolkata market, as a UX designer or as a product designer is very low compared to other city. Okay,
Right. Mm-hmm.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
But when I apply lot of organization is
Mm-hmm.
a like that as a product based firm or as a UX, my CV is almost rejected for the 80 to 90% based on the ATS system, because 95 organizations they are using for the application tracking system.
Okay.
Based on my design skill, they are not actually the recruiter or the design manager. They are not show my CV or portfolio. The middle part is the ATS. They are actually they are not fit for the actual the keyword from my CV or something, or not mismatch from the job description. Automatically my CV was rejected. So this is not a good thing from as a, because of obviously I want to relocate from Kolkata to another city, but my CV is not highlighted as a UX designer or as a product designer. So give you your suggestions. What the best way? Because I have too much active in LinkedIn, but that is
Mm-hmm.
not the actual way. What's the possibility to achieve a more how I'm cracked? Because these are system are using a lot of organizations, IBM, Oracles, and the product system like the Q uh, Teleonet. These are ATS system.
Right. Right,
The
Rajiv.
math works.
Right. So something, okay, I'd like to answer this question in different points. So number one, maybe some companies, yes, do follow ATS, but I feel like some companies for designers don't follow ATS like we do. We try to go through the portfolio and resume of each applicant which applies. So some companies might not follow this ATS system. I'm guessing where, like you said, right, companies like IBM might use an ES because they get a lot of applicants, right, Rajiv? So what
Yeah.
you can do is you can work on creating a rigid resume and portfolio. So some of the reasons what you can include might be, I'm not seeing your resume, so but some of the good tips for creating a very cool and good resume as a designer is, one is adding your personality to it, right? Try to add your personality or vibe to your resume. Try to make it better. You're a designer, right? You might not want to give a
Yes.
blank sheet with black text, right? I'm
No,
not
no,
saying
no.
it might not be over the top, but you can always add your personality to make it very cool. Ensure that you highlight only your achievements or really cool things which you have done, something which you're really proud of. They don't have to be too many, but it's really important to include them on your resume. So ensure that you include, don't take up too much space for your skills and hobbies, right? Because these are things with in designer where I'm guessing, like what it said, sk- uh, like knowing a software, it might not be the most important feature as a designer, right? So you
Yeah,
can
right
always,
now is a case study is most important. Right now, the
so
new
having a
trends.
good portfolio is important. So
Yeah,
say you're a,
portfolio in case
say
study.
so say you're an experienced person, right?
Yeah.
So you might have worked for other companies, you might have done freelance, for example, right? Let's just
Yeah.
take an example. So you can highlight the maybe the favorite companies you worked for, or the top companies where you feel like you've done the best work, and highlight how your work has impacted the business or the company, right? So say you might have done even a lot of work, right? So say you for example, I made 90 screens in 2 hours and it got developed. There was a lot of good feedback from users. So you can write that in the experience of different companies, highlight the top 4 or 5 companies you've worked for, or 3 4, and show that what's the type of work you did there, right? People are very interested in that, right? People want to know what type of work you've done previously so that they can know if you'd be a good fit in the team right now, right? So include
Yeah.
your past experience and only highlight the achievements or good features about that. Also include a very small portion for maybe the softwares, maybe just try to make it very short and sweet. Like if you know the Adobe Suite, you don't have to write Illustrator, Photoshop, just to make it look big. Just say Adobe Creative Suite, Figma, XD, Sketch. I know all the UX tools, After Effects, and stuff like that, right? Maybe you can. So what you can do is you can add 2 3 sentences about yourself, right? I am Rajiv. I
Okay.
am a digital product designer. I specialize in so and so, right? So people know what you specialize in, and then it's a greater chance for you if the requirements match. Uh, I'm sure you'll get a call for an interview or whatever. But yeah, usually companies also look at the style and if you're a good fit with the team or not. So I hope that these things can help you. Other than that, you can start creating a kick-ass portfolio. So I'm sure you have one.
Okay.
Maybe this like design is never perfect, right? You can always get better,
Okay.
right? So
Okay.
what I would suggest is just try to get feedback from people. If you want me, I can have a look at it the weekend. There are a lot of other experienced designers who can give you a review for your portfolio. Try to see how to make it better. I'm sure you'll start getting more calls, getting better at design.
Okay. Thanks.
Sure, Rajiv. Let's just take Manu's question now. Yeah, I see Manu's question. So, how do you start thinking while designing a product from scratch? Say, for example, say Zomato is going to start selling out merch like say shoes. Now you have to design a website for the same. Where do you start the ideation to come up with something new, keeping the same familiar Zomato feel for the users, right? So usually what you can start by doing is start on a blank canvas, right? It's the best thing to do, Manu. So what you can do is start on a blank canvas. Don't think that you're designing for Zomato, right? And start designing for what is the best experience for selling shoes on any product, right? So we always design with a very high end goal, something we don't even think that it might be developed or not, right? So that's how I start creating mocks where I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I create the best experience for my user. and then I get a review from my managers and show them that this is the best experience. Maybe one day in the future we can go, and if they like it, we keep out some functions which we can use for the first version, like let's say V1 or version 1, and then we start creating wireframes according our product, right? So then we start thinking about, okay, how will people enter this flow? How do people click on to enter, say, the merch section where they can buy the shoes? So then I start creating wireframes. I start brainstorming, and then to get the Zomato feel, we use our sushi design system. So we use reusable components, like we use the same fonts, colors. We might stick to the core brand guidelines for Zomato to make it more cohesive for the whole product. And then yeah, that's how we usually do it, where that's how we start creating different products and different versions for consumers. So this is a very good way you can start out, by starting on a blank canvas. Take a pen and paper, imagine the best experience for your user, and then trying to make it for your product. I hope that answers the question, Manu. Yeah. So after Manu is Nirbhay, is coding is important to be in UI UX, as a lot of company require for it? Nirbhay, I would say no, coding is not important to become a designer. You mostly design, you don't code, so you don't need coding. It's good to know coding so that you can tell the developers that this is possible, this is not possible. It's a good skill set to have, but it's not important. There are a lot of designers who don't code. I don't know how to code, but I just know the basics of HTML, CSS, and Java, which helps me a lot. But it's not important to code. Okay, B Sai Ashish, just like we signed an NDA regarding our algorithms, there are all sorts of IPs rights involved. Can one copy design ideas legally? Like, can I copy design ideas as one company using my new company? Is there a copyright on design or something? Yes, there is. Like I said, Ashish, don't fully go out and copy designs. You can always take inspiration from them and then mix and match according, create it to your style. Don't try to copy designs, because people also have copyrights on those. There might be even some patents for some. So I'd suggest don't go to the copy route.
Thanks, bro. Got it.
Sure. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Yeah, I had one question. I had one question regarding
Yeah,
that Samsung and Apple. There was this legal battle, right?
there's always a
Regarding,
legal battle.
yeah, like regarding the copy of design and all
Right.
that stuff. So like that is what the question was. Ki how do I make sure that even if my idea was original, but some other company says, ki, hey, this is, you copied the idea. There we are like, how do you do that?
So that's something you can't control, right? If it's something which is genuinely bought from your head, it's very, very hard. And I feel like it's very hard that other people would have the same idea, like exact same idea, especially in visual design. There's not much like you can copy, right? A layout is something which is very hard to make a to a copy from, right? So I feel like I don't think that's the case. If you have genuinely made it, you can make your case by saying, I didn't take inspiration. You can probably give them the source file. What you can do is, if you want to see if it is, one way you can look at it is, you can go to Google Images and you can search by image. Right, that's a very easy way to solve your problem and see if there are any similar layouts or products or design which you have done. So if it's a copy, it might pop up. But other than
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
it's
Like,
very
like,
it's
yeah,
very
makes
hard for that to happen. Like if your idea is genuine, I don't think it'll be similar to any other person's work.
Yeah, thanks. Like recently, Geo Meet was the app, right? The Zoom Meet का copy किया था उन लोगों ने, and then there was this whole huge uproar.
Yeah, तो उन
They
लोगों
are
ने
copied.
purposely copy किया है. तो
Okay.
it was a very big marketing stunt, right?
Hmm.
You can see the number of memes and the number of things which came out, right? They purposely made it exact to exact same. And for a company like Geo, I don't think that's done by mistake, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
pretty absurd. So it was a marketing stunt. It might do well for them. So it's up to the company if Zoom they want to sue them or not. I'm sure there's some legal things going on.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, man.
yeah, sure.
Rahul, can you hear me?
Yes, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. I'll tell you something about me first. I'm
Sure.
18-year-old. I'm learning BBA right now. Okay, and
Mhm.
in the last 2-3 months, I've developed an interest for design.
Right.
So I asked a couple of my friends who've been in the design field, not exactly in UI UX, but they're doing other fields of design. Okay,
Right.
so they suggested that I should start learning the softwares first. And what I realized is that the software is very easy. I mean, I learned it in a couple of days,
Right.
and uh, I sent a couple of my work, I tried to, imitate designs which are already done by designers, so I get better at it. And what happened is that I'm realizing that even though I'm able to do that, I'm still not getting that eye for design, or um, the how to use colors, how to improve my balance. So how do I improve that? Can you please tell me?
Yeah. So Sahil, I think really good job on starting out. I think you've gone on the right track. I feel like once you create something, are you getting feedback from your friends or other people in the industry?
I have two friends who are doing design. Both of them are doing automobile design. So what I
Right.
do is like, if say today I do a certain something in Figma, I'll just take a screenshot of it and then I'll send it to them, and then they give me feedback saying that this is not good, you should improve over here, which is cool, which I totally agree on and I improve upon it. But my thing, what I want to say is that basics, like you said, you talked about wireframing, or you talked about the basic research which goes on into it. I have no idea about it because I've never um, I'll say I don't go to design school. I don't think that has to be a big factor because I can learn overall. So can you help me with
Yeah, sure. So yeah, like I said, you don't have to go to design school. Design is something where you can be self-taught. There are more self-taught designers in the industry than taught designers, so that's something you should not worry about. What I would
Mhm.
say is, if you want to improve, start critiquing your day-to-day apps you see and designs you see on Dribble or Behance. Right? You need to
Mhm.
question why are they using these fonts? Why are they using colors? Like, मतलब क्या सही दिख रहा है यार? Like, how is it looking so good? Right?
Mhm.
And then start just searching things on Google. I feel like there's so many cool tutorials on color, typography, so many things to read and learn. I feel like you'll get better with practice. I feel like if you're really upset on, you feel like you might not improving, you can also, I suggest you reach out to people who are in the industry and that particular field, right? So you can get proper feedback on what's wrong and what's right with your design, right? With
Mhm.
respect to that field. So you can hit me up or hit any other designer in the industry who
Yeah, sure.
would be willing to help. And there are so many cool tutorials on YouTube on how you can improve your visual design. So like I said, right, start from basics, right? So you might,
Mhm.
so you're saying you're copying and imitating people and trying to mix and match and create your own design, right? That's great.
Mhm.
But I suggest you guys, you start from the very basic foundation. Like I said, like design elements, right? What is color? In color, there's color theory, color psychology, color combinations. Why do people pick certain color combinations? There's a whole color wheel which you can study, contrast values. So I can go on and on, right? So you can start from the very basic, right? It might seem very big. Just start very small, and you yourself will get interested, and then you'll realize, ki, oh shit, I used maybe I used a light yellow on a green, and it's not readable. That's why it was not looking nice, right? Just an
Yeah.
example. So you can always go through your basics, brush up your basics online. There are a couple of you. Just hit me up on Instagram. I'll send you a couple of good tutorials to start with for color and typography and stuff.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure, sure. Uh, yeah, there's some question on the side. I'll just read those out.
Rahul, one second, Rajiv.
Sure, sure, Rajiv.
Yeah, what's the difference between UX designer and product designer? Because both are roles are like that same, and then product designer is slightly high because they are actually the business goal under. So what's the exactly? Because in my CV, if I'm put there as a UX designer or product designer, both are same
It's almost the same, Rajiv.
approach.
So what I would say is don't go with design titles in the industry, especially this field. There are some crazy titles out there. Design full stack, design developer, design Jedi, something like that. So what what I would suggest is the difference between a UX designer and a product designer. A UX designer might only be responsible for creating the whole experience, not the visual design. but in some companies they expect you to do that, right? It's just a name,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
depending on the job profile or the job requirements, you might want to see what they expect from you, right? So generally a UX designer is a product designer when he is designing for a, say, a certain product, like for example Zomato, right?
Yeah.
Zomato
Hmm.
has a huge ecosystem. So a UX designer or a product designer in Zomato has to design with respect to this ecosystem, right? You might have to design with constraint that no, we can't create a new website, it has to be on the app, right? It has to be something
Okay.
where the app has, and it might have some business goals, right? We need to ensure people click on this many times, we need to make this much money, right? So
Yes.
having the constraint of solving the user's problem and with the business goals and keeping in the product ecosystem is the job of a product designer. He is responsible for doing research, design, and creating the final output which people use, right? Whereas
Yes.
traditionally, a UX designer might only be responsible for creating the wireframe and the experience and the whole solution, and the visual designer would make it visually attractive, right? So
Yes.
in this industry there's a lot of mix and match of title names. I suggest you go and look at the job requirements, but
Okay.
essentially a UX designer in a product company is called a product designer, if I put it in simple terms.
Yes. Okay. Sure. Thanks.
Sure, Ajib. Okay, we have a lot of questions. Payal, for a software engineer who wants to move into designing, where should I start from? So, Payal, we covered the whole session on that. You could start by learning the basics, then moving on to learning different tools, researching about design, what type of design you want to get into. You can hit me up again for any tutorials you might want to learn, any topics you have in specific. uh, yeah, that's a good way to start design. Just start reading about design and knowing what you want to do. Thanks. Guna Sethu, as a beginner, what kind of project should I include in my portfolio to increase my chances of getting hired? So, Guna, I feel like as a beginner, you should take any simple kind of project. A problem is a problem. As long as you're solving it and it looks really cool and it creates a purpose, I feel like people will hire you no matter what. There's certain reasons. If you want to get into, say, a certain company, you might want to have a project which shows you can do their type of work, right? For example, if you're joining a company who creates a lot of dashboards, you might want to have a project which has a dashboard, right? So that you show them that you can do this, right? So as a beginner, I feel like just go crazy. Whatever projects you want to have three, four of your own cool projects. As long as they're good, you'll get hired. Next question, Sahil. Also, can you tell me the difference between a UI designer and a front-end developer? So a front-end developer would mostly code it on HTML, CSS, where a UI designer would create it on a say a tool and then show it to the front-end developer on what color and etc. So these are the main two differences of UI designer and front-end developer. So I wanted to ask you that how do you apply as a UI designer full-time job as a fresher in a design agency? So Chaitali, very important. You need to have a resume, a portfolio. I think then you're good to go. Ensure that you're since you want to become a UI designer, ensure that your portfolio has more of UI design work than UX design work. Mostly of creating beautiful interfaces, and then yeah, you can apply on LinkedIn, um, post your portfolio on LinkedIn, try to have your work everywhere. Next, moving on to Harsh. Hey Rahul, I'm studying engineering in third year and past 1 year I'm in UI UX. So what I do for getting job in UI UX? Should I go design boot camp and what kind of project I have to do? Again, Harsh, I think I've answered the same question. You can have any type of project if you're a beginner, and if you feel like you can afford the design bootcamp, you can go ahead. I feel like there are all the sources online, so it's not compulsory. You can learn it from online as well. There are courses which you can pay for as well on Udemy and Interaction Design Foundation. So you can check out whatever works for you. You can go ahead with that. Uh, yeah, I think I've answered your question. Anybody else?
Hi Rahul, I have another question.
Sure. Hey Payal, what's up?
Yeah, so my it's like definitely you might be following some rejection process after you have a set of designs which you have made, because eventually you'll be like maybe this is not something the user would want. So on what basis do you reject your ideas in the end?
So we reject ideas based on, one is the most important thing is if they don't work for the user, if it's not a, if it's not something which the user needs, or it's not the best experience, that is rejected. Also, the second thing is if you're going to development side, you need to ask the developer if this is possible or not, right? So if it's possible, then you go ahead with it if you feel like it's the best experience. So usually we make a graph. So that graph is basically effort with impact, right? So the one with the least effort and highest impact wins, right? That concept wins, and then we go ahead with that concept. So usually it depends on a couple of things: the business goals, the development goals, timelines, but the most important thing is the experience for the user. So yes, I hope that answers your question, Payal.
Yes, that does. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Rahul, meanwhile, people are picking up their questions. I have one question, so I'll ask in between.
Sure.
So, you mentioned CEED exam once in your presentation. Can you take
Yeah.
us like how important that CEED exam is, or is it like required for a fresher to grab a job, or it have equal importance for a someone who's a developer or something like that?
So the exam is basically for getting into NID or IIT. So
Mm-hmm.
IIT have their own paper which is called CEED. It's like you have your JEE, right? So that's the
Mm-hmm.
same way for design. It's called CEED, Common Entrance Exam for Design. And so if you're someone who wants to go to a college and get a design degree in these colleges, you can go ahead and apply for that. So essentially they ask you designs questions on common problem problem solving questions, sketching, and etc. based on the field you want to get into. And so if you're someone who wants to get a proper design degree and do that, you can go ahead, or you can even do it by yourself. You can be self-taught, right?
Okay.
I would say that it's not compulsory to go to design school. A lot of that, like I said, there are more self-taught designers in the industry than
Right.
uh, design graduates. There are only 5,000 design graduates per year in India. It's very less. It's not like
Yeah.
engineering
Right.
where we have 2 lakh, 3 lakh people just passing out, right? Because the design is also a very niche and creative field, right? So,
Right.
and not many people know about it as well. So if you're someone who wants to go ahead and apply for these exams, you can definitely go. I mean, the reputed colleges, NID is one of India's best design colleges, even in the world. I think it comes in the top 70 design colleges in the world. So it's something. It's like anything, right? So if you're from IIT, people will like, oh, no, you're from IIT.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
the same reaction in the design industry from NID, right? It's not that easy to get into NID. There are very less seats,
Okay.
right? So yeah.
Got it. Got it.
Guna has a question. So as a designer, should I learn both UI and UX or get specific on the individual? Yes, Guna, learn both and then become a master of any one. I feel like you should become a master of one and know all the other things. So the more things you know, the more likely you're to get hired and add more skills in your portfolio and resume. So yes, you should.
Now, one more question I have is that what about the process of getting hired? Like, is it company respective, or it's like a generic process which companies are following? Like, for example, Zomato. Are they looking for some specific traits in a designer, or it's like a generic traits which every company like Swiggy, Dunzo, and other companies we have are they
So
following that?
generally for product companies, it's the same. So this is how the
Mm-hmm.
process goes. You apply, we look at your resume and portfolio very briefly. We don't go through it in detail, but we go through it briefly. If we like you, we either call you for an interview where you might have to present one of your case studies or your projects or showcase your work in the past. Or if we feel like we want to give you, if you don't find the type of work, for example, I gave the example of the dashboard, right? So say a company where it creates a lot of dashboards for users, but you don't have a dashboard in your portfolio, right? But you
Mm-hmm.
still really like
Right.
the candidate. So then what do you do? So then we give the candidate an assignment to complete in a week or 4 or 5 days. We give them a problem, and then they, based on that assignment, they have to present it in the interview or submit it to us, and then we get back to them. So usually it's portfolio resume screening. Then we have an interview where you're expected to explain your previous projects. Then you might have another interview with, say, the other management, like business or whoever. It
Got
depends
it.
on company to company, and then you finally get selected. So this is what I've seen where I've applied. This is the same process which goes on throughout for hiring for product companies. We at a company like Zomato, we also look for people who are very eager and people who are very interested in learning, people who are also have another amazing skill set which they can help teach the other designers, right? So on Zomato, we have this very cool thing of show and tells. So we have it once in the week where a designer might show off or show something which they had learned and which not many people might know, and people learn, right? So we had a session on animation. So a lot of people learn animation through that skill, right? So it's something where
Got it.
we expect where someone can contribute to the team or someone's good at public speaking and etc. Right? So it's a lot of things you can add to bump up your profile. You can create your own brand. So
Got it.
yeah. Sahil says, I'm doing a marketing degree right now. If I were to pursue UI UX design in life, will my marketing skills help me in human knowledge? Of course, man. Sahil, you'll be amazing at creating copywriting and some stuff like that, ways to sell the product, right? So you'll be amazing with writing copies on buttons and stuff like that. So obviously, what I feel like whatever you learn in life is gonna help you, and whatever you learn in design is gonna help you in life. So yeah, it's of course it's gonna help you. Uh, Raj says, how can I improve my design and my portfolio? You can improve it by getting feedback from people in the industry, Raj, or just noticing other designers' portfolio and see what they did, and noticing how you can improve your design. That. So you can always, if you want, you can ping me and we can go through your portfolio later sometime next week. I'm up for it. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
Okay, I think we have covered everyone's question and answers.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So like one little last request, if everyone can turn on their camera so that I make click one picture of everyone
Yes,
joining
definitely.
in, that would be really great.
Yes, I would like that too. Let's turn your cameras, guys.
Hey Vikram,
Some beautiful
hey
faces.
Style, hi Style. Hey Lalit, hey Ayush, hi Steve. How are you doing, guys? Thank you, guys. Thank you for everyone joining in. I hope you guys liked the session, and thanks a lot, Rahul, for giving us time on a weekend and joining us and talking to people. So
Sure.
one little thing, yeah. So one little thing actually I would like to wrap up before the session is that so this session is like organized with HelpKart, and HelpKart is a small initiative that I am trying, and every weekend I'm bringing in people from different domains and trying to let them on a session like a 1 hour call with all of you guys so that we can you guys can ask your questions and I personally can ask my questions and these guys can answer your questions. So that actually makes our process easier in achieving whatever goals we are trying to do. This is a small initiative that I'm trying this like from past 3 to 4 months, and you guys can check out our Instagram page, LinkedIn profile, website. The URL everywhere is very easy. You just have to type in helpcard.live, and that is what we are doing. We are doing a live session from HelpCard. So that is all I had.
All right. Thank you, Sanjit. Thank you for inviting me. I hope this is a good session for everyone. Yeah.
Okay, guys, then bye
All right.
bye. Have a
See
great
you.
day.
Have a great day. If you guys have any
Thank you so
questions,
much.
sure, Sahil. Sure. If you guys have any questions or any doubts, feel free to reach out to me and Sanchit for anything later on other
Thank
future
you so
events. Don't call me sir, yaar. चल, ठीक है. Bye, guys.
Okay, bye bye, guys.